Today we're going to give the old golf cart some pulling power. Hey everybody, I'm Kenny, this is Sagebrush Soul, and we are working on the golf cart today. It's actually only a couple of days after I built the seat backs, and I haven't been home and haven't upholstered them yet, so if you've already seen that video, that's why we're messing with the time-space continuum. I mentioned that I wanted to put the winch on it, and I've got the winch, and I didn't think that the golf cart would pull itself up on my trailer under its own power, and as you can see, it jumped right on that trailer like a bull on a heifer, and that's good. I've got a spare winch, but we're getting ready to move out of this shop in June, and I've already got enough stuff laying around here, so to go ahead and put it on the golf cart already seems to make a lot more sense. And I've got just a little bit of time. I got the shop to myself, so I'm at least gonna mock up the mounting plate because it's gonna be unique. I've done no research on figuring this all out on my own. I know there's kits out there for golf carts, but we've got the plasma table, so we're gonna go ahead and make some stuff. We've got this surface right here that we can mount to. We got the roller Fairlead, I think it's called, but if I mount it right there, that's not gonna work. So we've got to raise it up, and I'll show you what we're working with here. Now, just so you know, I have no intention of pulling stumps or anything like that with this thing. It's just if it needs a little assist for the cart more than anything else. By the way, this is a Yamaha G11. They called it the Yamahauler is the nickname for it. I think it was made in 1993 based on the serial number. It's got some unique parts to it that I've wound up fabricating more than buying because I can make them cheaper. Our frame does have some issues that we'll be addressing at some point in time. This is pretty thin gauge steel here that is on the bumper mount, and I think it'll be okay because when we add the plate, it's going to strengthen all of that kind of stuff. But I need to get a plate that fills this area in somehow. And at this point, I'm thinking I want to make it a bolt-on operation and not necessarily weld it all together. But we'll just have to see how that goes. If it's going to be smarter to weld it together, then that's what we're going to do. I've got some scrap 10 gauge that we've got left over from some other projects here at the shop. And so that's what I'm going to be working with. That should be pretty good. That's what the Fairlead's made of, and it appears that the mount is made out of something similar. It looks a little bit thicker than 10 gauge, but that might be part of the powder coating. So we need to find a way to mount the winch in this area, and I want to utilize these bolt holes, but we're gonna have to get it up in order to utilize the Fairlead. So we'll start working that out right now. But I'm not gonna show you how I draw all this stuff because I'm assuming most of you don't have a plasma cutter. You don't need one. This is a template for a plow mount to put a Yamaha plow on a Kawasaki four-wheeler. And I just wound up doing this with a grinder and a drill because I had to physically mock it up. And I was like, well, by the time I go in and draw it in the computer, I've already got a template, and it took me about the same amount of time as it would have to process it in the plasma. So whatever we do here can easily be done, like I say, with a grinder and a drill. I just happen to have a plasma, and I'm going to use it. Like we got 15 by, looks like we can go 6 inches. I actually think I'm going to tuck the winch back here a little bit. If we relocate that Fairlead, now that I got that figured out, that'll give us plenty of clearance to get the bolts in. So if we go 15 by 6 should be good. So I'm gonna quickly make a cardboard template. No, I don't even need to do that. So if I center these bolt holes, it'll center the winch, and I center the Fairlead. All right. I don't know how much you care about the measurements, but just in case you do, and this is a Badlands 3500, I think, winch, but I'm cutting the piece at 14 inches wide instead. Looked like there'd be better area to weld to there. And then it's 5 inches deep or tall as you're looking at it, 5 inches from here to here. And then the bolt pattern, really simple, is 5 on 3. So it's time to cut. And we got our winch mount cut, but it needs to cool off. All right, so I got the mount built. It fit. I did have to waller those holes out a little bit. I don't know if that was the tape measure being off or me being off. I think that's about where it's gonna have to go. I was gonna mount it back here, but you can see the problem is it was gonna hit this and I wouldn't have been able to get it. I don't wanna cut that out. I already repaired it, as you can see. So I'm gonna have to mount it to here. I'm gonna weld it all to the bumper instead of the mount that goes between the frame and the bumper. And I'm gonna have to put a little kickstand down, and I'll put an arrow as to where I do that, just to lend it a little support. But I think it'll be plenty strong the way that I plan to weld it on. And we just gotta check our fair lead, and then our fair lead can go right there. All right, I think it's time to tack it on. I was just gonna say, if you weld at all and didn't know that they had these cheaters, these things right here, I thought I was a bad welder. It just turns out I couldn't see because I'm old. Game changer. And I'm probably still a shitty welder. I don't know if you can see them. I'm gonna line up these two marks. Make sure we're basically square.
Denied.
Thing about welding, you gotta ground it. That was really crooked. Oh boy, I got this. All right, I didn't tighten those bolts down, by the way. They're loose for a reason. I got a little adjustment in them. But I think we're good to go. I'm gonna weld that part up. Like I say, we'll put a little support back here. I'm gonna weld it. I am gonna pull the hood or front or whatever that thing's called and weld. I'm not gonna connect it to this bracket, but just something to give it a little support right here. I just gotta grab a measurement real quick. Well, it is welded on, and it's a 3,500 pound winch. I mean, that was 3,600 pounds. You know what I mean? So I think it's good to go. Like I said, I welded the plate on that I cut on the plasma. I also made a couple of other parts off camera. And again, I'm still a shitty welder. It's not my eyesight. But I made these little parts, the kickstand thing that I was referring to. So I'll drill a hole in there. I want that to bolt on. The reason I didn't weld it on is this is a bracket that goes between the frame and the bumper. And I want to keep those separate, so if I ever have to disassemble it, which I do want to do, to eventually refurb the frame, I can do that. But I'll drill these out, put some 1/4x20s, that should help. But I mean, that weld alone, like I say, that isn't going anywhere, and I'm not going to be pulling stumps with it. And I'm going to try to pay as much attention to it as I can and not let anybody run off with it and think that it can pull a monster truck back over. This is kind of where we're at for now. I don't like how these lights look. I think they look a little goofy that far out, so I'll be pondering on that one. But this project has been so much fun. I thought it was 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and it's 11. It's the Super Bowl tomorrow, and I gotta go to the Buzz Factory to hang these bad boys in the morning before people get there, and I have to work the Buzz Factory tomorrow. So I better go to bed, but man, this has been a fun project. I can't believe it happened again. Friends, if this is your first time on the channel, you're about to learn of a condition that I have. And I don't know what to do about it, but I cannot, no matter how hard I try, absolutely cannot leave well enough alone. I went a little hog wild, made a plate to cover that. I originally wanted to move these lights in here, but unfortunately, the winch isn't gonna let me do it. I do have something to cover those up with, or I could completely fill them in, put something else in there, but I got a little carried away. I made a template of just the radius, took my measurements, took it into Illustrator, and I drew up how I wanted it to look and was able to convert it to have the plasma cut it out. And yes, this is actually named the Bad Dog. There's a story behind it that I honestly can't remember, but Vicky's plan to have a golf cart was going to be called the Bad Dog, and where over the summertime she's mostly going to be using this, I decided to go ahead and adapt the name, and it looks kind of like a bad dog more and more the more I add to it. But I'll show you what I got done. So I've just got this tacked on right now. I probably will weld it on, but I was thinking it might be handy to bolt it, be able to bolt it and unbolt it. But bolted the fairlead on. I went ahead and left the fairlead plate that came with it on there just for the simple fact that I'd have to find a place to put it and I can't throw anything away. But if we come down here, you can see I built the little mounts for it, and then that's a 5/16 bolt that's holding it to this frame. And again, this bolt, I don't think that's actually holding anything on. And then there's two. They're probably gonna be a challenge, but a couple bolts up front there, and this whole thing hopefully comes off, because I think I'm gonna have to pull it off to rebuild the frame. And while you're looking back here, you can probably see, yes, that the Bad Dog is gonna light up. Well, that's where we are right now. I'll keep on popping in on this thing from time to time. Got other videos that'll be coming out probably in the middle of it. I've also got some work to do on this little trailer that I'm gonna be towing around with me, but we're getting ready to go on the road and get some vlogs and go see some cool places, meet some very cool people. But I appreciate you watching. I'm Kenny. This is Sagebrush Soul, and may the best of your past be the worst of your future.